Rossi Lyon from the Fremantle Dockers is on the line. Good day, Ross.
Good evening, Brad. Carl.
Thanks for joining us, mate. I saw you on the TV about a month ago saying, well, look, it's all centred about round one. I don't get too excited until then. Well, it's here.
We can get excited now, can't we? Eh?
I hope so.
That's the aim.
And what about some of the clubs have declared some of their players aren't going to be playing this week? Who's going to likely to miss for the Dockers this week? Who can you rule out?
Viv Michi, Forster, probably Gav Roberts. But, yeah, other than that, we're okay. David Mundy will probably miss, even though he's pretty keen. He's in full training. Lower's got the suspension. Other than that, we're pretty healthy.
So Mundy hasn't convinced you yet?
Not yet, but he's training very well. He's training very well. It's going to be an interesting discussion.
What does he have to do to prove to you that he's ready to go?
Oh, good question. I just think he hasn't done the volume of work. But I think he's been picked on. Look, to be honest, I'm just saying you need at least another week. But he's in full training. So we want him in not only name but nature as well. So, we just think it's too big a step. But he's certainly capable of coming back in without playing waffle footy. So I just think for him to do that, he just needs a little bit more work. So it's exciting that we got him to this point, to be frank, because he had some hiccups in rehabilitation that was frustrating for all of us. And in a perfect world, he would have had a few games under his belt by now, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. And excitingly, Morabito will play waffle this week, so something to look forward to. A
great fixture to kick off the season, playing the reigning champs.
Yeah, well, you want to be the best, you've got to beat the best, and what better way to, open the season? It should be a full house there, and, big ground, we're fit, and hopefully it's pretty hot, and it's a great challenge, really. So, well, there's no easy games in the AFL, and we've got enormous respect for Geelong, but, we've got to start climbing up the ladder, and, you've got to claw and fight against whoever you play, so that'll be the aim.
Ross, I get asked by punters on the street, what have you tried to change? What have you tried to implement down there at Freo?
Well, certainly we've tried to implement a consistency of teamwork and how we play. So there's no doubt the Dockers had some good forward 50 pressure, but once it got out of there, their mid-zone team defence probably wasn't as strong as it could have been. So we've tried to implement a press throughout the mid-zone and gone away from a little bit of one-on-one at times. So there's that. A consistency of set up at stoppages, but above all, just teamsmanship and a consistency of how we play, bringing great effort and teamsmanship has been the aim.
I'm glad you touched on the stoppages because that's what my spies tell me, that you worked on it feverishly across the summer. Do you see that as a catalyst of winning the ball first and then controlling the tempo of the game, or is that just something you thought that needed to be tricked up a little bit, watching perhaps a few of the tapes of the last season or two of the Dockers?
Yeah, well, I think just quite simply, clearances are so important to get ground position. So if you can clear the ball and you can go forward. So when we've gone well over summer, we've cleared the ball and got good ground position and those things. But if you're attacking from your back half and teams press you really well, it is a lot harder to get on the front foot. So if you can get first use and, Collingwood at their best at clearances and ground position. So if we can go forward from stoppages, it helps you get in good ground position and build the pressure and turnover pressure. So it's been important.
Just with Clancy Pearce, I noticed that so far he hasn't been elevated from the rookie list. A few other clubs have, and there's total player payments situations that need to be brought into play here. Is that your club's case, or do you still want him to do more?
No, Clancy certainly put himself up to be selected, and I was at Woodside Petroleum today doing a launch, and one of our major sponsors, and I just said, if you want a good dream team bargain, I'll give you the heads up, Clancy. So, yeah, look, in a perfect world, we think he'd be elevated and play, but we've still got to have match committee. We've got to get through a couple of sessions, and, he's had a super pre-season, like a lot have, and he's competing really well, and he works for the team, and, I just think at this point he's a good story, and I'd be surprised if he didn't play, but I still got to go match committee. But Scott Baker and Chris Bond have to work through the the salary cap and what you said, the sort of administration side of it. But I'm pretty confident that can be done.
The backs look pretty solid. I mean, you've got Zach there this year, and of course we've already got McFarlane, Grover. You know, if Michael Johnson can slot in down there. The $64,000 question is the forward setup, and a lot of people will ring, SMS, and email this program say, is Matthew Pavic going to play forward on a regular basis this year?
Yeah, well, I'm like a broken record. Certainly, you'll spend more time forward, and in particular, like if you had certainly Mundy and Barlow and Morabito through the midfield, he'd be able to spend a lot more time. So he'll oscillate between the two, and but the aim is to turn him into a power forward who can go into the midfield if the team needs a lift, or he's not touching it. We know we can inject him, and I think last year against Geelong in round 2, he had lots of contested ball and clearances in the midfield. So we know he can do that. He's dangerous wherever he is, but we'd like him forward a bit more, but certainly on a needs basis in the midfield.
Dan's just SMS'd. How is young Lockie Neal's ankle injury that he rolled, and is he going to be considered for round 1?
Look, he was well in the mix for round 1. He's certainly been training, and he full trained today, and he'll full train tomorrow and Thursday. So, but it's not ideal for a young player not playing the last 2 weeks and going against Geelong. So we think he'll be available. It looked like a really nasty injury, but fortunately, there wasn't a syndesmosis like David Mundy, and he's in reasonable nick. I still need to see him train properly the next 2 sessions to build that confidence and a fitness test. But yeah, he's a chance.
I'm a Zach Clark fan. I know a lot of people don't share that as being in your best 22. What do you think?
I'm more in your corner, to be truthful, Brad. I just think he's a young player who every time he gets continuity in training and playing, he improves. And I just thought what he did in the ruck against Hawthorn was really good, but obviously Aaron's going to play, so puts him under some pressure. So we've got to make a decision, can he go under the ruck as well and play forward, and have we got too many tools? But I just think, we're pretty keen to turn him into a really important player over the next couple of years for Fremantle, so if we can play him, we're pretty keen to.
I think the other thing, Ross, is that what it would do if he can stand up is take the pressure off Aaron Sandilands, who's had to shoulder a fair bit of the load, and given that he has had a few leg problems lately, it might just help him get through the season.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. We're really conscious of it's a long, hard year, but I mean, at the end of the day, there's a reason Aaron's so highly respected because he's so dominant, but he's only human and he needs help, and we can't build the team around one man, so Kepler and Zach, and unfortunately John Griffin's been interrupted even though he's available this week. We want to share that load, and probably what's been good in the last couple of NAB Cups is we had to do it without Aaron, and we had to find a way, not to be as aggressive and just sort of scrap and fight a bit. So it was a good experience for us. You
pulled Grover out of the waffle on the weekend, I understand, and you did some simulation training instead. He may have been a little bit sore going into the game, but when you consider that sort of training, and you've already said it probably about David Mundy as well, you feel that he can come back into the AFL without going through the WAFL. Is that going to be the way you're going to approach it with injured blokes and blokes that are underdone, that you'll train them your way rather than put them back into the waffle?
No, not particularly. We like them playing the waffle, and we respect that competition, and it just happens that David Mundy will give him another week this week and Subiaco have the bye. So in discussions, I said to David, it won't exclude you. I'm certainly capable of picking you, because we have that much data, GPS, and every minute they run, we know what they're doing, and we can benchmark it against AFL standards. So if you can deliver the profile of an AFL player on the track, we know it's benchmarked against AFL games. So that's how you firm up your confidence. There's less sort of guesswork in it. So if they can deliver the numbers on the track, we know they're going to be able to deliver at game day. So it's more than just an educated guess. It's a bit more exact now.
Ross, what's your handle on Geelong? Hard to gauge their form through the NAB Cup, as a lot of the sides trialled and tricked a few things, and they've lost a few in retirements, a few still with injury, and your midfield press. I mean, that's probably obviously an area you'd probably want to try and lock down on them.
Yeah, I flew over to Melbourne last week with Peter Sumich, and we watched them live down at Kardinia Park on the Shell Stadium on this Saturday, and yeah, they worked into some really good form. The Bulldogs come to compete. They're good players. They had 16 shots, I think, or 13 shots in the third quarter when the game was up for grabs. So if you give them time and space, their skill level's that high, they can really slice you. I think tactically, they'll probably go the one ruckman, probably with Harry Taylor, probably you know, Harry Taylor had a run in the ruck. They're a little bit younger around the edges, but they've still got that hardcore senior experience like Scarlett and Chapman and Kelly and, you know, the ones Johnson and Bartel that really organise them and marshal them really well. So, but look, coming off a premiership, they probably started a little bit later, and, you know, we're just going to have to take time and space off them and pressure them because they're just so skillful if the game opens up too much. So we just think it's been a long, hot summer. We're in really good nick to compete against them, but we're going to have to be at the top of our game because I think they've won their last 8 or 10 at Subiaco. So at the end of the day, as reigning premiers, they'd come full of confidence and with plenty of pride, and they're going to have to make us work for the points.
Everyone's hungry down there at Fremantle, mate. The fans are hungry. You're hungry. The players, are they hungry enough?
Well, if they're not, we've got the wrong group. But all the indications to now, the way they've gone about their business and, you know, not so much their talk, but how they got to work on their track. And I think the NAB Cup, I was really pleased after the Hawthorn hit out. We did get put under a lot of pressure with 2 6-day breaks in a row off the 2-on-2 sub-rules. So, you know, to really scrap it out against a quality opposition like Hawthorn, we took a lot out of that. But there was a bit when you relax, you struggle against the best. But we just know when we bring great effort and we're quite desperate that our best is pretty good. So, we're confident that we're going to be able to compete against the reigning premiers.
Obviously, you've got to take it one week at a time, but no doubt you would have cast your eye on the game on Saturday night. You've got Sydney round 2, and what did you think of GWS?
Yeah, well, I was over there. I stayed over after the season launch and watched them. I thought, I just had to keep reminding, it's the birth of a football club, you know. It was a pretty special night to be there, and I just think the way they competed and, you know, never gave up, I thought they were fantastic. And, you know, 17 debutants and 20-year-olds and 18-year-olds, I just think they're really exciting. I think the AFL should be proud of what they've been able to do there, and, you know, there'd be no doubt they're going to be a handful, you know, the way they compete all year. So, and Sydney, they're just really professional. You know, obviously they had a lot of nerves, first one, local rival coming in, so they had a bit to prove. But I just thought both teams walk away just contented with what they did.
Good on you, Ross. Thanks for your time, mate. Really appreciate it. Good luck on the weekend against the Cats.
No worries, Brad. Thanks, Carl.
See you.